So good day, everybody. We're looking at day 22 in Genesis 30 to 31. And I've got to tell you, we don't have time to cover everything today. It is just that kind of two chapters. So I'm going to go through a few things from chapter 30. And then basically I'm going to give you a summary of chapter 31 and things that come out of 31 without going through all the slides and the scripture and everything. And I hate doing that, but I do not think that you guys want to spend the next 2 hours with me. So here we go. Genesis 30. We're looking at God's justice here. See, God has his way of evening things out. It's not that bad things aren't going to happen. He just has his way of compensating for that. So it wasn't Leah's fault that she was not loved. It wasn't. In fact, all of them are victims of Laban's abuse. All of them. Rachel, Leah, and Jacob. They're all victims of his abuse. And you know what that's like when you've become a victim of an abuser. You're usually part of a much bigger picture. So this wasn't her fault. So God awarded her with children. He gave her lots of children. Bang, right from the very beginning, she could have children. And with Rachel, he held back from Rachel. But why? Why would he hold back from Rachel? Well, because Rachel had her husband's love. She had his heart. Um, Even though she wasn't the best character. And I hope you saw that as you read through these two chapters, that Rachel does not have a very good character at all. So yeah, so this is the compensation package that God gave, but all of them really were victims of Laban here. So in verse 1, what we have is when Rachel realized that she could bear Jacob no children, Rachel became jealous of her sister and said to Jacob, "Give me children." Yeah, you hear her frustration. Give me children. If you don't, I may as well be dead. Jacob was angry at Rachel and said, "Do you think I'm God? God alone has kept you from giving birth." So right here, we can understand the culture of the time. Women very much saw that their self-worth was found in bearing children, of giving children to their husbands. I'm not sure that this was shared by their husbands, because we have several examples, and maybe these were just righteous men, but we have several examples throughout Scripture of men who are okay with that. Um, One example that we'll be looking at many months down the road, where he said to his wife, like, aren't I good enough for you? Aren't I good enough for you? Isn't this relationship good enough for you? So a lot of this, I believe, was just women at that time putting this on themselves. And right away, Jacob turned around and said, "You're not putting this on me, because I've got no say in this. Life and death, that's God's department. That belongs to him." And he says, "Do you think I'm God? God is alone has kept you from giving birth." And so, like, Jacob is making sure, because you got to realize that Laban didn't worship Yahweh, okay, the creator, okay. He worshipped some sort of version of the creator, but they were idol worshippers. Leah and Rachel were idol worshippers, and Jacob wasn't. Jacob worshipped the creator, and this family that he's married into, they worshipped idols. So I just make sure that you get that clear in your head. Genesis 30:15, we see here the difference between or what's going on here, what has happened because of this whole situation that has risen up. We see that Leah has ended up with a very bitter heart, and Rachel, not being of a good character, is very cavalier about her relationship with her husband. So we read here, Leah replied, "Isn't it enough that you've taken my husband? Now you want to take my son's erotic verb or herbs too?" Rachel said, "For your son's erotic herbs, Jacob may sleep with you tonight. As if a husband is something that they could just. This is what Jacob was. This is the house. I said it yesterday. No wonder he wanted to spend so much time at work. So wonder he wanted to spend so much time out in the field because he didn't create this. You got to remember, he did not choose Leah. He was tricked into Leah. He had chosen Rachel, and now he's got these two sisters who are bitter and who are angry, and who are just like callous even. So we can understand Leah's heart. She's in a she's in a relationship that lacks love, and she sees her sister um, with the love that she wants, and then Rachel's attitude towards her husband is like he's out for hire. And here we can see the same rashness in Rachel that we see in Esau, where Esau didn't think much of his birthright, right, and was willing to trade that away for a bowl of stew, and Rachel, who's willing to pass away the affection of her husband for some herbs. So then in verse 26 and 28, um, we have here a conversation between the abused and the abuser. Jacob's had enough. He's had enough. It's been 14 years, and he's just had enough of this. He wants out. And so he says, give me my wives and children whom I've worked for, and I will go. You know the work I've done for you. But Laban, he says it's through divination that he's understood this. So he's saying that the idols have told him this, but anybody with a pair of eyes can figure this out. Laban said to him, do me this favor. I discover by a divine sign that the Lord has blessed me because of you. So name your price and I will pay it. Name your price and I will pay it. So he's here. He's got nothing now to hold over Jacob. Jacob has finished the contract. He's ready to go. But Laban has become rich because of the blessing that is on Jacob. And so now he gets to the point where he says, name your price and I will pay it. But he's still the abuser. He's still the abuser. So here, listen, give it to Jacob here. He comes up with a foolproof way of having integrity in this deal. And he says, listen, any mark, any of the animals that have a mark on them, those will be mine. And that way you can see whether I'm cheating you or not. Just in a glance, you can see whether I'm stealing from you or not. I mean, he's above board here. I mean, I'm taking back all the thoughts I've ever had of Jacob because the Lord is just letting me see from just a completely different point of view these days, just the integrity that Jacob has in this. And so he sets this up and his father-in-law agrees with this. Okay, this is what we do. He says, all right, let's do it. But look what it says. However, on that very day, Laban took out the striped and spotted male goats and all of the speckled and spotted female goats, any with some white in it, and all the black male lambs. Okay, this is Jacob's agreed upon wages. This is his pay right here that they've just agreed on, and he's taking them out. He's removing them from the flock before Jacob can get to them, and he gave them to his sons. Not only does he give them to his sons, but then he puts in a 3-day trip, people, a 3-day trip between himself and Jacob. That would be quite the effort that Jacob would have to make to go and check out and discover what his father-in-law has done to him. And he did this while Jacob was watching the rest of Laban's flock. So while he's out there working, Laban robs him blind. That's the abuser that he is. Now, I got this down. Maybe I spelt it as wife's tale, but it's wives' tale. This is a wives' tale. The wives' tale, knock on wood or don't walk under a ladder and all those kind of things. And so Jacob is desperate. Like his father-in-law is robbing him blind, and he's trying to find a way to work the system. And this isn't it. Don't go out and try to do this and think you're going to get rich because this doesn't work. Okay, this doesn't work. When the flock mated in front of the branches, they gave birth to striped, speckled, and spotted young. Okay, so he did this thing with bark and all this sort of stuff. That does not work. But you know what? God has his way of giving out justice, and um, and so he used this. He used this. What Jacob was doing, he used it, and he caused the animals, the strong animals, to give birth to Jacob's pay, what Jacob was supposed to be paid. So it says, or sorry, I've written here, God made it work in order to enrich Jacob because of his promise, but also to bring justice to this situation. Yeah, it's according to his promise. You remember the promise he gave to him, those three promises as he came into the land. So yeah. So then we need to go to the summary because I don't want to keep you here all day. And in 31, some of the things that we discover is that it was God who told Jacob it was time to go home. It was 6 years of this agreement. See, you got to be careful of your timeline when you're reading the Bible because 6 years was the difference between one chapter to the next. So 6 years has gone by, and God says, "Okay, that's enough. Right? Like you've been at this for 20 years. It's time to go home." And Jacob in here in this chapter, we see him on a number of occasions giving credit to God for his success. That he never said, I did this. He never said, I'm intelligent and I did this. He worked hard. He worked with integrity. He honored God. We can only assume that he was paying his tithes and such. And God gives him success. And then we see the extent of Laban's abuse. We see that he changed the wages on him 10 times. In those 6 years, 10 times he changed his wages because Laban's flock was getting weaker because all the ones that he said would belong to him now uh, ended up being the weak ones. And the stronger ones kept going to Jacob because that's the way that God was working out. And Laban just kept changing that agreement. He just kept changing it. And we see that Jacob had, was spoken to in a vision. And I want to point out something. Jacob, everybody gets this idea that at this time, the men were the bosses, and then they just commanded the women what to do. But at this time, I'm not saying it didn't become that, but at this time, and previous to this, that's not how the wives were treated at all. Jacob went to this is a man of integrity. He went to his wives, he spoke to his wives, he explained everything to them, and then he asked them if they would agree to come home with him, to come to his home, to leave their territory and return home with him. Would he have left without them? I guess we don't have the answer for that, but because they turned around and agreed. They said there's nothing here for us. Like our future lies with you. Our prosperity lies with you. They looked at Jacob and they're seeing a man who respects them, a man who shows them respect, a man who provides for them, and a very rich man now, much richer than their father. And so they agree. But we see the character of Rachel. We see it more and more coming out, and there's no integrity in Rachel at all. She went, she stole her father's household gods, her father's idols, which has nothing to do with her husband, because Jacob was not an idol worshiper. He worshipped uh, the Creator. He worshipped the God of his fathers, the God of Jacob, the God of Isaac and the God of Abraham. Um, but Rachel was an idol worshiper. She wanted security, so she stole the idols of her father, and then look at her deception. When her father is looking for them, she turns around and says, "Oh no, Dad, sorry, I can't get up." She's sitting on them. She's sitting on the idol. Says, "Dad, I can't get up. I'm on my period." Out and out lies to her father. So in this, we see that God intervenes to protect Jacob. He intervenes with Laban. he shows up and he warns Laban in a dream, in a vision, not to say anything good and not to say anything bad um, to Jacob at all. Stay neutral. And I guess it was a significant enough dream because he did that. That's exactly what he did. Uh, and we see here again as Jacob is talking to Laban, we see more things being exposed. We see more of how he was treated, and we see more of his integrity. He was such that he never, if animals came and like wild animals came and killed any of the flock, um, Jacob took it out of his own wages. He covered that himself. If if somebody came along and stole a portion of the flock, it was again Jacob who paid that out of his pocket. But Laban would still abuse him, would demand things from him. There was no kindness there whatsoever, and we hear the terrible working conditions that Jacob faced for 20 years. 20 years he worked in that environment. Now, obviously, he had a staff. He had people who worked under him, but you know that Jacobs was one of those guys that he wouldn't have any of his. You met them. They would never ask anything of anybody that they themselves weren't willing to do, and he'd be down there in the muck and the mire and the cold and everything else, working with his staff. Um, and Jacob states again that this, like the only reason he survived was because of the promises of God. The only reason he survived these 20 years is because what God promised him at the beginning, that he'd be with him and he would protect him. And he knows that's the only way he got out of this alive. So they make a treaty, and it's interesting that they call it treaty because you know that a treaty is usually drawn up to keep the peace between enemies. So there's no love loss here. Laban sees this as he needs protection from Jacob, that Jacob won't sneak up and attack him. And that's an abuser, isn't it? He knows that he did wrong, and he's afraid that the one he abused will one day rise up and attack him. And so that's why he wants this agreement. He wants this treaty. And Jacob, again, in this place of integrity, does not want to take anything out on Laban at all. He's not looking for justice from Laban. He just wants to go home with what he has. And so he makes a promise. And he makes a promise, and this is the first we hear of this, really using God as his witness. God is his witness in keeping this promise. Wow, that's a lot of stuff we covered. A lot of revelation there, a lot of things that help us to understand Jacob better, and to understand, for us to understand that we're really seeing here a living example, a testimony here of God's faithfulness to his promises. And this should be encouraging to us because he has never changed. We have increased revelation, but it's not because that's what he's becoming. It's because that's what we're beginning to understand about him. And so as he was then, he is today. And the promises that he's given to us are forever. They are ours, and nothing can prevent them. You should be encouraged today, people. You should be encouraged because you have started week 3. Yeah, congratulations for making it this far. And on top of that, you have all the promises of God. We live according to those promises. So you guys be blessed today, be encouraged, and love you all, and have a great day.